meeting, everyone. Welcome to our course Demand and Supply. In this chapter, we will go to learn how markets work. When we need a new pair of running shoes or plan to upgrade your cell phone, the place in which we find them is a market. A market is a group of buyers and sellers of particular good or service. The buyers as a group determine the demands for the products, and the sellers as a group determine the supply of the products. Markets take many forms. Some markets are highly organized, such as the markets of many agricultural commodities. In these markets, buyers and sellers meet at a specific time and place, where an auctioneer helps set prices and arrange sales. A market has two sides, buyers and sellers. They are markets for goods such as apples and hiking boots, for services such as haircuts and tennis lessons, for factors of production such as computer programmers and earth movers, and for other manufactured inputs such as memory, chips, and auto parts. Markets vary in the intensity of competition that buyers and sellers face. In this chapter, we are going to study a competitive market, a market that has many buyers and many sellers, so no single buyer or seller can influence the price. Economists use the term competitive markets to describe a market in which there are so many buyers and so many sellers that each has a negligible impact on the market price. Each seller of ice cream has limited control over the price because other sellers are offering similar products. A seller has little reason to charge less than the going price, and if he charges more, buyers will make their purchases as well. Similarly, no single buyer of ice cream can influence the price of ice cream because each buyer purchases only a small amount. We are going to study how people respond to prices and the forces that determines prices. In everyday life, the price of an object is the number of dollars that must be given up in exchange for it. Economists refer to this price as the money price. The opportunity cost of an action is the highest valued alternative foregone. If, when we buy a cup of coffee, the highest valued thing you forego is some gum, then the opportunity cost of the coffee is the quantity of gum foregone. We can calculate the quantity of gum foregone for the money prices of the coffee and gum. We can express the relative price of coffee in terms of gum or any other goods. The normal way of expressing a relative price is in terms of baskets of all goods and services. To calculate this relative price, we divide the money price of a good by the money price of the basket of all goods, called a price index. The resulting relative price tells us the opportunity cost of the goods in terms of how much of the baskets we can give up to buy it. The demand and supply model that we are about to study determines the relative prices, and the word price means relative price. When we predict that the price will fall, we do not mean that its money price will fall. Although it might, we mean that its relative price will fall. That is, its price will fall relative to the average price of other goods and services. Let's begin our study of demand and supply, starting with demand. Wants are the unlimited desires or wishes that people have for goods and services. How many times have you thought that you would like something if only you could afford it, or if it weren't so expensive? Scarcity guarantees that many, perhaps most, of our wants will never be satisfied. The quantity demanded is measured as amounts per unit of time. For example, suppose that you buy 1 cup of coffee a day. The quantity of coffee that you demand can be expressed as 1 cup per day, 7 cups per week, or 335 cups per year. Many factors influence buying plans. and one of them is price. We look first at the relationship between the quantity demanded of a good and its price. To study this relationship, we keep all other influences on buying plans the same and we ask, other things remaining the same, how does the quantity demanded of a good change as its price changes? The law of demand provides the answer. The law of demand states, other things remaining the same, the higher the price of a good, the smaller is the quantity demanded, and the lower the price of goods, the greater is the quantity demanded. Substitution effects means that when the price of a good rises, other things remaining the same, its relative price, namely its opportunity cost, rises. Although each good is unique, it has substitutes, other goods that can be used in this place. As the opportunity cost of goods rises, the incentive to economize on its use and switch to a substitute becomes stronger. Income effects means that when a price rises, other things remain the same, the price rises relative to income. Faced with a higher price and unchanged income, people cannot afford to buy all the things they previously bought. They must decrease the quantity demanded of at least some goods and services. Normally, the good whose price has increased will be one of the goods that people buy less of. We are going to study one of the two more used curves in economics, the demand curve. You are also going to encounter one of the most critical distinctions, the distinction between demands and quantity demanded. The term demand refers to the entire relationship between the price of a good and the quantity demanded of the goods. Demand is illustrated by the demand curve and the demand schedule. The term quantity demanded refers to a point on the demand curve. Figure 3.1 shows demand curve of energy bars. A demand curve shows the relationship between the quantity demanded of a good and its price when all other influences on consumers' planned purchases remain the same. The table in Figure 3.1 is the demand schedule for energy bars. A demand schedule lists the quantity demanded at each price when all the other influences on consumers' planned purchase remain the same. We graph the demand schedule as a demand curve with the quantity demanded on the x-axis and the price on the y-axis. The points on the demand curve, labeled A through E, correspond to the rows of the demand schedule. Willingness and ability to pay. Another way of looking at the demand curve is as a willingness and ability to pay curve. The willingness and ability to pay is a measure of marginal benefit. If a small quantity is available, the highest price that someone is willing and able to pay for one more unit is high. But as the quantity available increases, the marginal benefits of each additional unit falls, and the highest price that someone is willing and able to pay also falls along the demand curve. Thanks everyone. They are our contents of the first section.